Okay, welcome back to the channel once again, guys. It's your Liverpool Brothers podcast, and today we are here to review Liverpool's game against Manchester City, and then quickly we are going to look forward to Liverpool against PSG and talk very briefly about the game between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona in the Champions League. So I'm here with my brother, Kobe Stana. Stana, how is it going?
Yeah, it's all good. Not too bad. Go again.
Yeah. We go again. It is not a very happy time as a Liverpool fan, but what can we do? We still need to talk about the games. We still need to um, talk about things. So that is what we are going to do today. So we played against Manchester City. It was not an exciting game for Liverpool fans. Maybe it was very exciting for Manchester City fans. It ended up with Liverpool losing 4 goals to nil. And because we are going to preview the game between Liverpool and PSG, let me first ask you, what do you think the result against Manchester City would have on this Liverpool team going forward? How difficult is it going to be to get the boys up and running for the game against PSG?
I think it's a huge blow, and I for one don't think it has done um, a lot of damage than the damage that has already been done. I think these boys are really not there anymore. I think these Liverpool players, I think they are done with the season, and for them, most of them are probably just waiting for the season to end so that they can go and represent their countries for the World Cup. They are done. They are done mentally. I think they are done. Um, Especially if you look at some of the decision making, especially when we consider go against the run of play. Immediately, everyone becomes looks shattered. The body language. I'm looking at Van Dijk's presser after the game, and you see the way he's speaking after the game. He does not know what to say. He's dejected. He's destroyed. I mean, he looks like mentally he's not really there. So mentally, it's a big blow for Liverpool. Confidence is at an all-time low. I don't know how we get back from this. And the most concerning part is the manager at the dugout, who is Arne Slot, who, if the boys are dampening their spirits, this is not a manager that can bring the best out of these boys when it comes to lifting their spirits. So it is a very difficult game going into for Liverpool.
So against the game against City, what was it down to? Was it down to the lack of desire from the players or tactics or a bit of both? Was it tiredness? I don't know exactly. What do you think?
Well, it was a bit of everything, a bit of tactics, a bit of lack of confidence, a bit of unluckiness on our part as well. Because I, for one, thought we were the better side in maybe the first 30 minutes of the game. We were on the front foot. We were well controlling the game. I saw Manchester City the way they lined up, the kind of tactical setup, the way they wanted to press us when we were trying to build up from the back. That four-man press that they use against Arsenal, which worked so well. They used that same kind of setup against Liverpool, but we were able to pick it apart with Florian Wirtz always dropping in between the lines and receiving. And so that is how we broke out of that press and tried to um, go on into the final third of the Manchester City backline. But ultimately, the story of our season is this. We get some of these opportunities and then we are not able to take advantage of it. Salah missed a very good chance to go up 1-0, and if that goal goes in, that could have changed something in the game. But again, as the game was going on and the game stayed at 0-0, where I thought we were the better side, I just knew something was going to happen in the game where things will turn. Manchester City will get maybe a half decent chance, and then the ball goes to the back of the net, and then we go all over, we go again. That's the story of our season. Sometimes this is how we are on the front foot. We are playing. I mean, quite decent. Something just happened at the back end against the run of play, and then we concede the first goal, and then that's just it. the boys lack fight, they lack desire after the first goal goes in. So I think it was a bit unlucky for the penalty that we conceded. Yeah. It's very difficult to blame Van Dijk for that incident. He probably could have done better, but it happened. It all happened so fast that he couldn't really react. He brought Nico Riley down. Of course, it was a penalty. Haaland dispatched it for 1-0, and then that was it. From that point on, everything went out the window. All the tactics, everything that we had done so far up to that point, everything went out the window, and then we couldn't even take that 1-0 to the first half. Try and come out in the second half and say, okay, we are down by 1 goal. But for majority of the game, we were the better side. So let's go out in the second half and try and get the equalizer. There's a cup game. Could take it to extra time. Anything can happen. But the fragility in terms of our side allowed us to go on and concede that second goal. And that was the tie done and dusted. So it's a defeat that I think will hurt Liverpool a lot, especially going away at Parc des Princes. PSG are confident. They know they will turn up, and then they just have to play their game. One way that Liverpool really struggle is when teams are trying to gain that sort of control in midfield, especially the way that we set up, always trying to have a man advantage at the back line when we are supposed to take the initiative and try and be a little bit more braver. And I think Arne Slot, he doesn't really learn from his mistakes. He's been doing this over and over again and never worked, but he still continues to do it. And it's so disappointing to see, because last season his in-game, the way he was learning on the job as the season was progressing, his in-game tactics, how when teams are able to match us in the second half, he comes on in the second half, he tweaks something, and then we're able to get a foothold in the game. But this time it's like we have a completely new manager other than what we got last season. And so it's very disappointing to see from my point of view.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think if there's any positives from this game, it is what you mentioned about how City were pressing us in that 4-2-4 shape, but we're still able to manage to play around them. We're using the channels, the inside left, inside right channels to try and get through. And Florian Wirtz was exceptional in finding space. So I think that is something that we can build on. For now, the game is gone. We've lost it 4-0. We are out of the FA Cup. We can't get it back. We need to take something into this Champions League game. And if there's anything to take, it is the first 30-35 minutes of the City game. And the challenge now is to be able to do that for a 90-minute period. If we can do that, then we stand a very big chance of getting something in this Champions League. So looking at the game against PSG, we go away first. Going away first, what do you think the best strategy would be for Liverpool? Should we go there and try to press them, match them boot for boot, or sit back and defend and hit them on the break?
Ideally, the best way to approach a game against PSG is to play a high press, to try and press them. Try and press man to man, but not a blind man to man press, a coordinated man to man press where when someone goes inside, when one is following, then one is covering the space that has been left at the back for someone else to cover. So a man to man press, but not a robotic man to man press. But I've watched this Liverpool side for the whole of the season. We can't do it for 90 minutes. We can't even do it for 45 minutes. So we might have to choose our moments when to do that high press and when not to. I think the best approach is to try and sit in a mid block. I think that is our best chance. Try and sit in a mid block. Allow them to go to the sides. We shift to the side. When they go to the other side, we shift to the other side. That is our best chance. And also, when PSG are trying to play out from the back, they always use a 3 back and then a 1 in front of the 3. So they will use the 2 center backs. Vitinha will drop as one of the 3 at the back, but he usually doesn't drop in the middle of the two center backs. The two center backs rather shift, and he drops to be like maybe the left-sided center back or the right-sided center back. So he picks it up. And always you see that there are large distances between those three that are building up from the back and the rest of the midfielders and the attackers, who will, two of them will stretch your defense and provide a width. Then the others, some will be trying to run behind and some will be dropping deep. And so that is the decoy that they try to use. So when you drop too deep, they go in behind. When you don't follow, then they play through the lines into the midfield. And Vitinha is so good that he can play through the lines and he can also carry it when there's no pressure on the ball. So Vitinha is someone that will be very key in the game because he will be in charge of the build-up when it comes to how PSG is going to progress to the final third. So that is one aspect that Liverpool need to look out for. I think one other thing will also be the sides when it comes to our fullbacks, Milos Kerkez and then Joe Gomez. I, for one, probably my only positive was the first half that I saw from Joe Gomez when he was in the 1v1 duels with Jeremy Doku. I think he fared quite well. I know the game didn't pan out as we wanted to, and if it did, I think we would have been singing Joe Gomez's praises because I think in the first half he really did well against Jeremy Doku 1v1 in terms of preventing him from dribbling inside and trying to cut in or create a chance or get to the byline and create a goal scoring opportunity. So the key will be at the sides, other than what I've already spoken about the press and how they build up from the back, because they use Hakimi a lot. And so if I'm going back and looking at how we can get a foothold in the game, I'll be looking at a game such as the Club World Cup final where I saw Chelsea limit Hakimi and the Nuno Mendes from joining the attack. That is one key thing because immediately they prevented Hakimi and Nuno Mendes from joining the attack. It meant that they didn't have the number of bodies to overload our wide area, to overload Chelsea's wide areas, and it also allowed Chelsea that when they broke from the counter attack, PSG's wingers were too far up the pitch that they couldn't come back and help Hakimi and Nuno Mendes also defend. So I think our wide areas is something that we need to look out for. Cody Gakpo or whoever else will be playing there, we will need to make sure that they are very clinical and potent up top in stretching them and making sure they are dangerous on the counter break, so that whenever Hakimi or Nuno Mendes are trying to join their attack, they will always be wary at their back, and so they wouldn't be bombing down our left and right hand channel and causing all sorts of problems with overloads, especially for someone like Kerkez, who we've seen is a bit jittery when it comes to defending those 1v1 situations. And so I think that is one other key thing. I think that the next thing is about limiting the amount of time and space that Dembele will have on the ball. I was watching Dembele against Brazil in their friendly matches that they played, and I saw Didier Deschamps using him the same way that I've seen Luis Enrique use him recently for Paris Saint-Germain. You wouldn't really think Dembele is the one playing as the force. Now, sometimes he can drop so deep, you think he's the holding midfielder. And this isn't something that has just started this season. If you remember the game that they played against Anfield last season, that they beat us 1-0 at Anfield and ultimately went on to qualify, it was a similar kind of setup from the builder where Pachu found Osman Dembele in the middle of the pitch where Dembele was dropping, someone else was
Yeah,
trying
he
to
was
run
completely
and
free.
use them as a decoy, and then they came in, received the ball, and then it was a straight transition, and they were able to get that goal. So Osman Dembele and his ability to carry the ball, we need to make sure when he's dropping, someone else is following him through and making sure that when he drops, he isn't allowed to turn so easily and face the front of our goal. One other thing also
But
is when he
that is
drops.
not something that Liverpool have done very well this season. When a striker is in the defensive line and he decides to drop, nobody follows him. I've recognized that this season. Last season, Van Dijk was following. Konate was following the player who tries to drop deep and receive the ball in the pockets.
Yeah.
This
That
season,
sends us
for
back
some
to the
reason,
+1. That +1
yes,
nonsense that Anna Sol has been played. There is it's absolutely useless. There's no point in using the +1 at the back line. We need to be braver. There's no point in using +1 at the back line. I think the +1 is the reason why they are not flowing attackers inside when they are dropping. And that is a huge problem. And if we have to stand a chance, that is something that we need to cut out of our game. We need to be more braver in trying to
Yeah.
limit the amount of chances that PSG will
And
create.
and I think with this PSG team, they haven't been very good this season compared to how they were last season.
Yeah,
However, Liverpool has also been extremely poor this season. So it is still a game that Liverpool are going to have a difficult time because not because PSG are very good, but because Liverpool themselves are very, very poor. Now, I don't want to see us trying to press them and trying to win the ball up high in both legs, not even at Anfield. I don't want to see us pressing them to try and win the ball because we cannot. The press is not good enough. So let's not even try it at all. As you said, I would prefer we go with a mid block, try to bait them to come forward. Once they get close to the middle half of the field, that is where we hunt them down. We hunt them down like dogs. So over there, you don't give them space. I think that is what Chelsea were able to do very well in the Club World Cup. They didn't waste their time trying to press them and press the keeper. What are you doing pressing the keeper? What do you want? What do you gain from pressing the goalkeeper? I don't really get why teams do that or why coaches decide to do that. It has no, unless you win the ball. If you do it and you don't win the ball, it is useless. So
and
unless you want to go
we are
like
one of the
Klopp,
worst side when it comes to pressing out from the front as well. So we shouldn't even try
yes,
doing that.
yes, this season. So I think we should maintain a mid block, but then try to be aggressive once they enter into certain zones on the field. We pick those zones that we want to be aggressive in, and when we get into those zones, we rough them up. It's not about getting the ball. Make sure you get contact on the player. Make sure you bump into somebody. And unless we do that, we have no chance. If we try to just play football, we are not going to get any chance in this game. Um, let's get into the game between Atletico and Barca. Who do you think would be favorites, Atletico or Barca? Because there's been too many meetings between these two teams, and you wonder if Atletico are going to learn their lessons and try to repeat what they did to Barca in the Copa
Copa del
when
Rey
they
first.
when they beat Barcelona by 4 goals. So,
Yeah,
do you think they can replicate something like that in the Champions League?
they can. They can. I mean, as a possibility, they can. I, for one, have been a huge critic when it comes to Diego Simeone because, and it's similar to what we always say about Arteta and him having that handbrake on all the time. In the game against Barcelona in the first leg of the Copa del Rey, when they won by 4 goals to 0, there was no handbrake. He showed more intention, he showed more ambition because he knew the second leg was at the Camp Nou and he knows Barcelona doesn't lose at the Camp Nou. So he knew he needed to get a win at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium. And so he went out all guns blazing. Solid defensively, but showed more intent. They were braver. They were pushing more men up front in terms of finding the player in behind and then running into the space or the channel, hitting the Barcelona on transitions. And that is how they got their goals. But then if you look at the return leg in the Copa del Rey, Diogo Simeone came into that game and it was as if it was a rookie manager on the bench. This is a manager with a lot of experience. And then he came into the game, he just shut up shop. They didn't come to play football, they just came to qualify. That is that. And eventually, I mean, it worked for them. So you'd say, okay, fair enough, it worked for them. But I don't think it works this time around because Barcelona, coming into this game, I mean, Barcelona's attacking threat, they are even without Rafinha, but the amount of chances that they create in a game, the La Liga game that they played at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium, where I thought Barcelona didn't even have a great game by their own standards. It was a decent performance by them, but not really a great game. They were still able to get over the line. And my major problem is Diego Simeone. The guy that got a red card, I think his name is Nico Gonzalez, not even a left back, but Diego Simeone opted to play him as a left back, and he was struggling so much against Lamine Yamal. This is the best player in the world, the best player in the world, and you know how good he is when it comes to his 1v1 dribbling. But then you don't double up on him. You leave a man that is even playing out of position. You leave him to defend Lamine Yamal 1v1. I mean, it was as if he was just leaving that player for dead. It was suicide at that point. Because from the start of the game till that player got the red card, he was absolutely being torn apart by Lamine Yamal. Absolutely being torn apart. And so Lamine, you can't do that in a game of this magnitude. And if he tries that again, it will be disaster for Atletico Madrid. I, for one, have already said I think Barcelona will be winning the game home and away against Atletico Madrid. And I think I said that mostly due to Diego Simeone and how he approaches games, which I think isn't really the best way to approach games. He's so afraid to go and attack this Barcelona attack. He has the tools. Ademola Lookman, Antoine Griezmann, he has Guillermo Simeone, who have that kind of pace. Give them the tools to go and do the damage. They can't do the damage. This is a Barcelona side that we've seen the amount of chances that they concede week in, week out. Juan Garcia having to save them every single time. They can be got at. Cancelo, defensively, he's not really, sometimes he even forgets he's a left back. Attacking wise, I mean, he's brilliant. He's one of the most technically brilliant left backs you find around. But defensively, sometimes not really there. Capitalize on that. Use your weapons. But I don't really see him using that. And that is why I think Barcelona will have the edge. I know that Rashford coming in, this is like an audition for Marcus Rashford because, sorry,
Every day
Rafinha.
is like an audition for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, so Rafinha needs to turn up because evidently Barcelona is a bit predictable because they seem to be
Is
always
Rafinha
picking
fit to
us on
play?
the right side. But no,
Is
Rafinha is
Rafinha
not fit
fit
to
to
play. I
play?
think he's out for about a month. So it's
Yeah.
definitely Rashford that will be starting the game. And I would also like to see I would still want to see Fermin Lopez and that they almost start the game up top. I wouldn't want to see Robert Lewandowski start the game. I think I've watched Robert Lewandowski this season and his energy. I don't like his energy, especially when he starts game for Barcelona. Barcelona will need that sort of legs and energy because they need to press them from the onset and from the front. If you are playing a hard line, I don't think without Rafinha, Lewandowski really offers them that because when Rafinha plays, then Lewandowski can play because Rafinha can do that. He can carry Lewandowski with him when he's pressing. But with Rashford, you play Rashford and you play Lewandowski in your front line. Then alongside Lamine Yamal, these three players don't press. So I would probably go in for the double number 10 that I saw him use in the previous game in the La Liga with Daniel Olmo and Fermin Lopez.
Yeah. So actually, so you said you think Barca are going to win home and away. I
Yeah.
think I have a different view on that. I think
Okay.
Atletico might pose a lot of problems for Barcelona at home at the Metropolitano. So I think I would give Atletico a draw or a win, but a win that is not a win margin that is not good enough to qualify them over the two legs. So I think even if they win, it's going to be 2-1 or 1-0 or
Yeah.
3-2. So when they go to the Camp Nou, Barca are just going to blaze them away. Barca are just going to put maybe 2 or 3 past them and end up qualifying. But before we end the video, let's go through the entire ties, all the quarterfinal ties, and give our predictions. Who is going to go through to the semis? So let's start with Bayern Madrid. Who do you think is going to go through?
Bayern Madrid. The first leg is at the Bernabeu, which is a huge advantage for Real Madrid. So for that game, I would go 2-1 for Real Madrid.
Okay, but so who is going to go through over the two legs? I just want us to do a quick who is going to qualify, and then we kind of give our semi-final sort of fixtures. So
Okay.
between
So
Madrid and Bayern, you think Madrid is going to go through?
I think Madrid will win the first leg. Very difficult. Everything is pointing out to be Bayern will go through, but it's just so difficult to predict
Okay, let
against
me
this Real
let me
Madrid
give you
side.
mine. Let me give you mine, and then
Okay.
afterwards, I'll ask you. I'll come back to you. So, for me, Bayern Madrid, I think Madrid is going through. Um,
Okay.
Liverpool versus PSG. It is PSG going through. So in the semi-final, I'm expecting PSG versus Madrid.
Okay.
On the other side, I think Arsenal are going to go through against Sporting Lisbon, and Barca are going to go through against Atletico Madrid. So in the semi-final, I'm expecting Barcelona versus Arsenal, and then in the semi-final, I expect Madrid to go through to the final,
Okay.
and on the other side, I expect Barca to beat Arsenal. So we are going to have an El Clasico at the Champions League final. And in the final,
Okay.
I think Madrid are going to win the Champions League. So that is my road to the final from the quarterfinal. So now let me see if you've made your mind up. We'll come back to this and review this as we go on. So after the quarterfinal stages, we'll come back and see
Yeah.
who was able to get it right or wrong.
Okay. Let me start off with the Madrid Bayern. Bayern to go through. I think Madrid will win the first leg, but I'll take Bayern to go through to the semi-finals. Sporting Lisbon versus Arsenal. I'll take Sporting Lisbon to go through miraculously at the end. I'll take Sporting Lisbon to go through and cause an upset. In the other game, Barcelona to go through. I think they will win the tie comfortably in the end. And then the other game will be between Liverpool and Paris Saint-Germain. I think Liverpool will, Paris Saint-Germain will trash Liverpool, both home and away. Both home and away. And so the semi-final will be between Paris
I thought you were
Saint-Germain.
going to say Liverpool will go through.
I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Fingers crossed. So the semi-final will be between Real Madrid versus Paris Saint-Germain, and then Sporting Lisbon versus Barcelona. Barcelona to go to the final, and then PSG versus Bayern. PSG to go to the final again, and
Wow.
then and then in the final, PSG versus Barcelona. PSG to win it again.
Wow. Okay. So there you go with the predictions right from the quarterfinal stages to the final. Um, we are ending the podcast at this point. Thank you very, very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here. Like the video. Also share the video. Make sure you alert others to take note of this podcast and come here for their daily and also weekly review and previews of games. I was here with my brother, Kobistana, and we'll catch you later on. See you very soon. Bye.
See you guys.